Is my heart on board? I'm not asking, is my heart afraid? We've acknowledged that. Is my heart on board for this decision, for this journey ahead? And you know the answer. So if the answer is yes, then that's a fear worth facing. If the answer is no or maybe, then maybe it's not a green. And maybe your heart's not on board.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's episode, we dive into the concept of decision making. Did you know that making a decision, or at least getting yourself overwhelmed and going through your mind over and over again, actually uses a lot of brain power? It uses a lot of ATP. So wouldn't it be awesome to be able to biohack our decision? Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to have a framework for us to go through to know the right decision to make? Well, Paul Epstein is someone who's actually delivered keynotes around the world on how to make decisions better and faster. He also talks about how setting up the week to win at the beginning of the week really sets you up to not only win the week, but win the year and win your life. He's a good friend of mine, and he has shared his wisdom with us today, and you'll love his framework on how to make better decisions faster. So welcome again to the Thrive State Podcast. If you're new to the podcast, welcome in. This is a place where I get to welcome some awesome guests in the world of human performance and longevity to give you the tools, the tips, the tactics to take your life to the next level, to put yourself in a state, in an energetic state of high performance, of love, of connection, of vitality, what I term the Thrive State. And if you are new to the podcast and you want to dive in, I got a lot of free stuff. You can visit thrivestatestarter.com or getting a toolkit to reach your Thrive State by going to mythrivestate.com/toolkit. Now, this is a conversation I had with Paul as a part of my Thrive State Summit series. And this is a virtual event where I got a chance to interview some of the world thought leaders in health and emotional wellness. And I got to interview Naveen Jain, Dave Asprey, Bruce Lipton, Vishen Lakhiani. I mean, such an awesome list. And if you would like access to that, as well as a bunch of my digital products, you can visit mythrivestate.com/pro. Now, again, this is a good friend of mine. You should definitely check him out. He's got a lot of awesome work. And on today's podcast, really listen for his methodology to improve productivity. One being how to make better decisions faster. You're going to really love this episode. Check out this conversation with myself and Paul Epstein. Welcome back to another session of the Thrive State Summit. Your host here, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. With me today is a good friend who's rocking stages all over the world, Paul Epstein. He's a former high-level executive for multiple NFL and NBA teams, the best-selling author of The Power of Playing Offense. In 2022, he was named one of Success Magazine's top thought leaders that get results, alongside names like Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, Gary Vee, and Mel Robbins. He's also been featured on ESPN, NBC, Fox Business, and USA Today. He's on a mission today to help individuals and organizations make better decisions faster, and has a new book out just to help us do that. He's the leading speaker on confidence in decision-making, and he always just brings an on-office mindset to a world that's increasingly playing defense. His message and game-changing perspective on stage is what made him an award-winning keynote speaker, with his impact continuing off stage, providing leadership development and culture transformation for programs and companies including Amazon, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, my favorite team, the LA Lakers. So super excited about diving into your new book, Better Decisions Faster. Paul, welcome to the summit.
Oh, thanks so much. But that was quite an intro. So thank you. I'm blushing, and let's dive in.
One of the things that affect the mental health of so many people watching is overwhelm and decision fatigue. Can you talk a little bit about what the root causes of those things are and how to close the gap on making better decisions faster?
Yeah, this is really the space of business and life that I've immersed myself in for years now. And so let's set a foundation. When I say decisions, let's think about the importance of those things. And if we could do an audit, here's the thesis. Life is a game of decisions and actions. And whether you take action or not is a decision in and of itself. Therefore, decisions are the lowest common denominator. So then people agree so far. Everybody I've shared this with says, yep, fact check. I'm with you, Paul. Okay, now let's do an audit. Look back in the rearview mirror. Decisions around health, partners, relationships, career choice, time, investments. I could keep going. Show me the quality of those decisions. I'll show you the quality of your life. Got it. So everybody, again, I've never had somebody push back and said, no, that's BS, man. I've been treating my body and mind horribly and I'm the healthiest person. Said nobody. Okay. We all know that this is a decision game. And so if that's the case, I then respond and I say, okay, so if this is hypercritical, hyper important, high consequence, high value, what's your process? What's your system? How do you make decisions? And I'll tell you, I usually get blank stares, made up answers, something about risk versus reward, logic versus emotion, gut and impulse, and I've got a knack. And I say, okay, so whatever you just told me, you're consistently doing that for all your most valuable decisions? And that's when the white flag goes up. And that's when I knew, not only as a thought leader, but as somebody that gets out of bed every day on a mission of impact to make a difference, to leave people and places better than I found them, I felt like this was my problem to solve. I felt like the mission was too great, the upside, because of the pain and the problems that exist in the world. I was like, this is something that I would fall on the sword for. I am going to get obsessed about creating the solve and the solution for how we can overcome things like stress, anxiety, decision fatigue, decision overwhelm, paralysis, which leads to the worst possible decision of them all, indecision. Indecision is a silent killer every day. And I said, if I can solve for this and at the most critical forks in the road of life, give people the tools and the insights for how to step into those forks with unshakable confidence, that's the mission. And that's the mission I've been on for the past few years. Of course, the net result is you write a book about it, you do speeches about it, you train, you coach, you consult about it. And I'm happy to unpack more the how-to and the application of how we make better decisions faster, but that's the backstory.
Oh, so good. There is partly the inability to have confidence in choosing something to do, confidence in your decision. How do we start closing that confidence gap, my friend?
It's a very simple formula, and this formula ties into eventually how we apply what's inside of Better Decisions Faster. The formula, simple to understand, not always easy to do. A lot of things, as you know, just because it's simple does not mean it's easy. The formula is confidence equals values times action. And the multiplication is how consistently you do it. Show me a person that consistently takes action on their values. I will show you a confident person, period, point blank. So the key here is, do you know your values? And if you do, how consistently are you acting on them? And so when I talk about the 4 C's that build up to making better decisions faster, clarity, confidence, conviction, courage, we start at a point of clarity. Do you know who you are, i.e. your values? Do you know why you do what you do? Do you know where you're headed? Do you have confidence in how to get there? So a lot of those elements come back to clarity. And if you consistently flex the muscle of clarity, you build more confidence. If you consistently show up every day more confident in your decisions and actions, you have more conviction. And if you have consistent conviction in how you step into the day, courage and standing tallest when fear and risk are highest becomes inevitable. But people don't start at courage. You know, we watch shows like Shark Tank and people will say, oh, well, you know, just develop a better mousetrap. And yeah, fear and risk, they don't bother me. It's a facade. It's a lie. That's an absolute lie. And courage, while it's a core value of mine, that's not the start here button. Or I would say that is not the start here button. That is the end outcome, okay? You don't start with courage because that might be irresponsible. That might just be a lot of irresponsible leaps. You start at a point of clarity, then confidence, then conviction. Courage is the outcome. But here's the thing. You talk about closing the confidence gaps. Let's level set here. Most of the problems that people have at an individual level, a team level, a cultural level, an organizational level, the root cause is confidence. In the speaking world, I get brought in all the time. Paul, can you help us with our people problems? Leadership, talent, culture, recruiting, engagement, retention. Oh, it's a soft market, the industry, a lot of fear, the economy, it's crumbling. At its core, all of those are confidence gaps. Here's a couple stats. 85% of leaders lack confidence in their team. 76% of people lack confidence in their leader. 85% of people lack confidence in the mirror. So you might think you're losing your people because you have retention problems. No, they lack confidence in staying. You might think you have turnover on your strategy team because people are disengaged. No, they didn't have confidence in the direction your company was going or the industry that you're a part. So there's always a root cause of confidence. So if I can solve for the root cause, many of these symptoms go away. And I'm talking to the doc here, right? So I'm talking your language, but I assess a business challenge like I do a medical and a health challenge to say, don't tell me you're sneezing. What caused the sneeze, right? And if we could solve for that, then the sneezing might go away or it might lessen. And so I think those types of lessons can be there. But the biggest thing that I notice is people haven't done the hard work of knowing who they are from the inside out. They don't know their values. They take inconsistent actions that are very random. They're not operating by design. They're just drifting on default. And that's how we end up stuck, burned out, lost, fatigued, unhappy, unfulfilled. That just means you don't know your values and or you're not consistently acting on them. And I'm here to solve both.
Let's start there because that's where I find so many people, watching this mental health summit have problems with is that clarity. Because throughout their life, we live in a culture that you need to be this. You shouldn't be acting that way. That doesn't actually value our own authenticity. And so a lot of people will go off of default with these masks that they wear from the traumas that they had earlier on in life. And so when they get to a place later in life and like, life isn't working for me now, but how do I even start to rediscover my values?
Yes.
How do you talk to that person?
Oh, okay. We are so going to double click on this. You brought up authenticity. And I'll eventually in this conversation share what I call the head, heart, hands equation, which is how we make better decisions faster. So we have to come back to that because the heart is your truth. The heart is your authenticity. So we are going to come back to that. But first, let's speak to everybody out there. Maybe you're lacking a little bit of confidence. Maybe from the neck up, you're not feeling as healthy as you possibly could be. So I'm going to meet you exactly where you are because me too, I have 1,000,000% been there. But now on the other side, more confident that there's a process or system to fight through that. Here's what I've learned. There is a journaling process around my values that fundamentally changed my life. It is when I graduated from one chapter to another chapter, from pre-confidence to post-confidence. And it got me dialed into who I am at my core, that clarity of authenticity, that authenticity being my values.
So mental health issues come with dealing with what life brings you. And for me, it was internet going down and great to be able to have another room so we could continue our conversation, Paul.
100%. And you're bringing this to a great place. And look, internet issues aside, because at the end of the day, life happens, but this is all about, you wanted to talk about clarity. We know that the more clear we are over time, the compounding effect is more confidence, but we can't be confident unless we consistently put our values in action. So then the $1,000,000 question is, what if I don't know my core values? Or what if maybe I have a fuzzy idea about them, but maybe I haven't been acting on them? Cool. I'm going to meet you exactly where you are, give you a couple different pathways on how you can land on at minimum one core value. You don't need to find your core 3 or 5 right now. Let's focus on one. So I'm going to give you a couple of avenues to get to that value. And then separate, I'm going to give you a process for how you can consistently put it in action. And this process changed my life. So I've been coaching it ever since. And now this is me handing off the baton to everybody listening in. A couple ways you could find a value. One, it's our infamous friend of Google. You can Google top core values for individuals and you'll get lists of 50, 100 or more. And there's going to be 1 or 2 that just jump off the page. So don't overthink it and just ask yourself, is that a word that I clearly identify with, that I would fall on the sword for? And if it is, then green light. Just jot these down. The whole goal is I'm going to give you 3 processes. You might end up with 8 to 10 words. And then I'm going to say, just choose the one. Just choose one out of these 8 to 10. So Google is going to get you some words. Great. Number 2, friends, family, the people that you know the best in life. Pick 5 people that know you super well. And it could even be a text message. Hey, I'm going through a personal discovery exercise. Quick question for you. If you could describe me in one word, what would it be? That's it. That can be your message. And you're going to get responses. And if they're like, oh, I can't keep it to one, fine, then give me a few. Use those as bonus points and see if you find a theme amongst all the different responses. So that's number 2. The third, I actually open up my workshops with this exercise. I call it the Inspire exercise. And I show the Latin definition of inspire. The Latin definition is to breathe life into. So then I ask everybody in the room, and I bat lead off. I go first. I say, think of a word that inspires you. Better yet, think of a word that breathes life into you. And I say courage. And for me, it's because when I lost my dad and my mom showed up with great courage and she went from parent to partner because I'm an only child, she breathed courage into me and it never left. And I tell that story in a little bit more expanded. And then I go to other people and they say hope and belief and growth and compassion and optimism and resilience and fulfillment, all these wonderful things. Great. What's your word as you're listening to this that inspires you? What's your word that breathes life into you? Okay, so now you've got this list, maybe a list of 5, maybe 8, maybe 10. Lock in on one word. And here's the process that I want you to go through. The cool thing is it takes 2 minutes. You're going to do it once a week. So I'm asking you for less than 10 minutes over the next 30 days. Time is not an excuse. Being busy is not an excuse. I lock in on this process every week, and it's something that I'm so fired up for you to do. So here it is. You're going to journal. For the week ahead, I will live my value of blank by blank, okay? The first blank is a value, the word that you chose. The second value is going to be an action that you commit to. Remember the formula, confidence equals values times action. This is the process to build confidence, battle through mental anxiety and stress and all these other things that impact our health from the neck up. This process will do it for you. Okay, journal. I will live my value of blank by blank. I'm going to go through 2 examples. Let's say you chose the value of joy. So in that case, I would journal, I will live my value of joy by cooking my favorite meal. So joy is your value. Cooking your favorite meal is the action. And that's all you're going to do. And then you got to do it, right? Now, let me up the stakes a little bit because joy is a little nice and warm and fuzzy. So now let me get a little bit more risque. Let's say your next value could be courage. For the week ahead, I will live my value of courage by having that challenging conversation that I've been putting off. You're not having that conversation because Paul said. You're having that conversation because courage is a core value. I just gave you 2 examples. Had you chosen something like joy or courage? Now, here's the key. We've studied habit formation. Fun facts. This is exactly why we all suck at New Year's resolutions. This is why. There's a few reasons. I'll give you my top couple. One is we don't have a process or system to stick with something like a journaling exercise as an example. So there's no process, no system. It's just an arbitrary random thing that we decide in December. And then by January 10th, poof, it's gone. So no process, no system, we lose. Another thing is I think it's all head, no heart. So you could say you want to lose 10 pounds. That's head. Do you have a heart-based reason for why you actually want to get healthier? The head says lose 10 pounds. You won't stick with it unless it's embedded deep into your reasons, into your heart. That's another thing. And then the other is, I think just overall distractions, which is where process and system come into play. Like if we get distracted, we just go back to our old ways. It's just too convenient. It's too comfortable. And that's it. All right, back to this journaling exercise. Here's what the social sciences will tell us. Habit formation typically, if we have a consistent routine, a process, a pattern, a system, typically most habits can form within 3 to 4 weeks. So what that means is, and again, this is why New Year's resolutions don't work. We don't do it until the 3rd, 4th week of January. We give up before then. In this case, I want you to journal 4 consecutive weeks. We have to get past that threshold of when habit formation kicks in. And so if habit formation kicks in by the 3rd week, 4th week, we have to go past it. So I guarantee you, I'm not exaggerating here. I have shared this process with thousands of people, and I don't have anybody that does not have a success story after this 1 month. The only people that tell me it didn't work, they didn't do it. They didn't stick with it. They didn't hang in there for 3 to 4 weeks like I'm challenging you, inviting you to do. Do this journaling exercise for 4 consecutive weeks. Every week, sit down. I will live my value of, fill in your value, by, commit to one action. And inevitably, here's what's going to happen. The first week, because it's new, you're going to force yourself to do this one thing. The second week, you'll do one action, maybe 2. By your third week, it grows. And by your fourth week, you can't stop. 5, 6, 7, 8 actions, all connected to that one value. By the way, stick to one value for the whole 30 days. You don't change value week to week. If you're going to do joy, joy is your value for the next 30 days. Joy is your value for 4 consecutive journaling weeks. If you're going to do courage, that's your core value. I found my why when I was head of revenue for the 49ers back in my NFL days. And I was introduced to a variation of this process. I then morphed it to make it my own. I went through this process. Value 1 for month 1. Value 2 for month 2. I had 5 core values for the 5 months. I went through this and my life has never been the same since. So hopefully it's a valuable exercise for everybody out there.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for ThriveStateStarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at ThriveStateStarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
Wow. I love how not only do you have frameworks, but really the applicable, practical things someone could do to actually implement on your framework. And I want to now dive into your new book, Better Decisions Faster. You talk about the heart, the head, and the hand. How do they all relate together for us to make better decisions faster?
Yeah. So remember, the way we make better decisions faster, it's when we can approach the most critical forks in the road of life with confidence. And so all of these things, and we just talked about how confidence is when values are multiplied by action. Inside of the book, we've got what we call green lights, and those are values. And I'll come back to what green lights mean in a second. But here's the head, heart, hands. And it's a very simple, I love that you use the word framework and process, because that's exactly what this is. So by definition, head is your mindset, heart is your authenticity, and hands are action. The equation is head plus heart equals hands, meaning when deciding whether to use your hands, when deciding whether to take action, 2 checkpoints, head and heart. Head, do I think it's a good idea? Heart, do I feel it's a good idea? And just like any traffic signal, it's going to be very familiar. Head and heart is a green light to take action. No head, no heart, red light, no action. One of the two, head or heart, is on board. It's a yellow light, and we got to solve for the gap. So a bit of context here. We all want more green lights. Green lights are a path to happiness, to fulfillment, success, significance, purpose, impact, contribution, optimizing our best potential. All those wonderful things are byproducts of compounding green lights. Green light relationships, green light camaraderie with your team, green light with your boss, green light with your industry, green light with yourself in the mirror. It's when your head and your heart are fully on board and ignited. So that once you're aware of it, just like, and you're the expert here, but you know all about the RAS and the reticular activating system. And just like, hey, I never noticed how many Teslas existed in the world until I got a Tesla. And now you start seeing Teslas everywhere. That's your reticular activating system saying, pay attention to Teslas. The same thing happens. Once you start to experience more green lights, it almost attracts more green into your life. So I think that's a wonderful, make your brain, make your mind work for you, obviously. Okay, that's the head and that's the heart. Now, let's talk about reds. I know you speak a lot about mental health, and here's the complexity of it. And I want to be very sensitive with what I say. And when we talk about things like trauma, as they say, there's capital T, there's lowercase t. And I just want to say this: life is hard. Life is challenging. And so to say, I'm stuck, I'm burned out, I'm lost, I'm fatigued, maybe I'm lacking a little bit of hope or optimism, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled. I probably have gone through each and every one of those. And at some point, you ask yourself, how did I get here? How did I end up feeling so broken? And in the spirit of green, yellow, and red lights, it feels like a very bloody red light. And what I've learned about reds and how we end up in those places, you didn't end up feeling that way, the way those emotions I just described by running one red light. You didn't. It's a compounding effect of subconsciously running red lights over months and years.
Yeah.
And so what I'm really getting at in 180ing or stop running reds or make a U-turn, it's because when we stop running reds and we're aware of them, we're less likely to end up stuck, lost, fatigued, burned out, unhappy, unfulfilled, because again, the compounding effect, we never even give it a chance. We never give it a chance. And the last thing is with yellows. Yellows, I navigate a little bit uniquely. Head and heart are not created equal. And here's why. You want to talk authenticity? You want to talk truth? Well, that's your heart. And your heart doesn't change over time. It's not. It's not going to change week to week, month to month, year to year. So if you think your heart's going to change, you're lying to yourself. I'll just be very direct. I think you're lying to yourself there. So if that's the case, let's leverage that to our advantage. If I know my heart is not on board, but my head is on board, hey, take the job for more money, but your heart's like, yeah, that's not a good opportunity. Or if you've ever led a team, I've managed countless salespeople and, they sold the most widgets, but maybe they were toxic in the locker room. So I keep them for head reasons, but they were never a keeper in my heart. And those yellows are more deadly than a red because you bleed out over time. You bleed out, you lose the time. At least the red, you snap your fingers, and if you choose to stop doing it or not do it, it's done. But the wrong yellow, where head is kind of pulling you, but your heart knows that it's not on board and it's never going to change, that can be a very slippery, dangerous slope. On the flip side, there's a good yellow. Heart is in, but head hasn't quite joined for the party yet. Okay. Maybe there's a self-limiting belief. Maybe a coach is needed. Maybe a therapist is needed. Maybe talking to your partner or a friend is needed. Your head can potentially change over time. You can improve it. You can evolve it. You work on your mindset, of course. So that's a good yellow. And my message for that yellow is you stay in the fight. You shoot for your head to join for the party. I've gone through this conversation countless times with my family. Do I want a second kid? I'm struggling being a dad. I was in these heart-driven yellows, and I had to do some work from the neck up to eventually get it to a green. And there's a happy ending to that story. It created healthy conversations in business. Hey, I disagree. I see it as this. I see it as that. All right, you're a green. I'm a yellow. What a great conversation to have. Because now I'm not attacking you as a person. I'm not attacking your opinion. We're just having an open conversation about, okay, why are you a yellow? Why are you a green? Why are you a red? And it just creates a community of empathy. And I just love that aspect. So the moral of the story here is when you write a book like Better Decisions Faster, it's because you imagine a world of more green lights. You want people to stop running reds, and you're delivering a playbook for how to navigate and conquer the messy middle of yellow.
I've got one more yellow for you.
Okay.
Say your head wants to do something.
Yep.
But you get the emotion of fear come on.
Oh, yeah.
And you sense that as maybe a red from your heart. How do you start distinguishing what the heart is truly saying versus a illusion of that feeling of fear?
Yeah, this is a great one. And I think the heart, which is your authenticity, which is your truth, it really comes down to the reasons. What is your reason for doing it? And if there is a purposeful reason, there are possibilities to rise above fear, overcome risk. And here's how I would describe this. Fear is very natural. We should be afraid. It's a signal that it matters and that you care. Actually, even better, if you don't have fear, it probably means it's not that important to you or you don't care. Like when they say, oh, Paul, do you ever get the butterflies before you? Hell yeah. You know why? Because this is super important to me. It's not because I'm afraid of speaking. It's because I'm like, I got to bring my A game because there might be one person's life that I could impact today. If I show up with my A game versus my C game, maybe we don't connect. And I need to hold myself to that A standard, right? So like it means something to me. So what I would say if we're facing fear, which you're right, that does connect to the heart, I would just say, acknowledge the fear, but then you need to compartmentalize and be able to put it to the side and then say, do I really care about what this decision is? Am I willing to go through hard times to get to the positive outcome that I imagine? Is my heart, forget all the business talk. Is my heart on board? I'm not asking, is my heart afraid? We've acknowledged that. Is my heart on board for this decision, for this journey ahead? And you know the answer. So if the answer is yes, then that's a fear worth facing. If the answer is no or maybe, then maybe it's not agreeing. And maybe your heart's not on board. And I just want to make sure that you're going through an intentional process of compartmentalizing and putting the fear to the side and saying, okay, now that I stripped that, heart, I'm looking at you without the mask on. How you feel? You in? There's no maybe. It's a yes or no. And if it's not a yes, then it's just not in. But at least we stripped and compartmentalized that fear away.
So good. I wanted to see what your take is, for the person who says that they go through their day just constantly feeling overwhelmed. They've got the needs of their families, the needs of emails coming at them all day, different needs for work, lots of these type of just decisions. And they've heard everything you've said about your 4 C's, about being able to create more confidence, using the heart, head, and hand method. That person in that state of overwhelm at that point, how do you guide them step by step through that one moment to alleviate their overwhelm?
Yeah. Let's isolate what exactly is overwhelming you. Is it the number of decisions, the type of decisions, the consequence of the decisions? There's no one size fits all, but I will say this. Here's a good example. If you're a CEO or a leader and I hear decision fatigue and overwhelm the most from that pool of people, it's often, here's what they really tell me, especially over in adult beverage. Paul, I'm tired of making decisions. All that I do all day is make decisions. And you can imagine the compounding effect of that is fatigue and overwhelm.
Yeah.
So for that individual where it's the quantity of decisions and also the reliance of people on them to make those decisions, I can clearly advise this individual to be like, how many of these decisions do you really need to be making? Can you delegate some? Can you create a committee for some? You might be the bottleneck, right? You're the approval authority. No wonder you're overwhelmed and fatigued. If I had to make every single decision, that's the whole point of hiring a team, to empower them. And if you don't want to be a servant leader and empower your team, well, then the problem is in the mirror. I'll just speak directly to you. Like, you're not leading from a place of servant leadership and abundance. You're leading from a place of grabbing and hoarding and wanting to control and own. It's like, dude, that leader ain't going to lead a thriving, healthy culture over time. They might win a game. They'll never win a championship. They sure as hell won't repeat as champions. I know that to be true for sure. And so I think it's about isolating what exactly is overwhelming you. But for the everyday individual, not the CEO, not the executive leader, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's a compounding effect of negative emotions. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's anxiety, and maybe there is a really stressful decision in your life and you don't know, should I be with this person or not? I know that I'm climbing the wrong ladder, but I'm lacking the courage to explore a new thing. And for that, I would just say, remember confidence equals values times action. Remember that. I would pull that formula back out. And once you know your value, I would try to solve for your problem or your mind space through that. So if you said, I'm lacking hope, but hope turns out to be a value of yours, you would say, well, what's one action I can take to give myself more hope this week? And then you journal hope again the next week, and then the next week, and you get to that fourth week, and you're building your muscle of hope. But here's the beauty of it is, let's say you're in a dead-end job or you hate your boss. Okay, but hope is a core value. You know what an action of hope could be? Instead of feeling sorry for yourself or victim or whatever all that stuff is, hey, this week my action is I'm going to commit to 2 hours of researching a new opportunity. Great. The following week, your action could be doing coffee with a mentor and sitting down and being open and vulnerable and transparent, and you leave feeling better. Those are small actions that are doable, that are accessible, but you didn't do it because Paul said. You do it because hope was a core value and you found yourself in a hopeless situation. And my belief is that this journaling process can get you out of any hurdle if you commit to this monthly process.
Paul, what a gift. What a gift in this process that I think anyone should be able to do because it requires such little time. But the gifts that will come out of that so that people could remember themselves again, to have more confidence in their life. It's amazing. I know you have something special for our VIP members. And remember, when you get the VIP package, you're not only supporting our 4 nonprofits, but you get these gifts. And so, Paul, can you talk a little bit about the gift that you want to share with us?
Absolutely. We've been talking about confidence this entire conversation. And I know one of those $1 million questions is, well, I want to know how confident I am. And I wanted to create a solution for that. So I created a confidence quiz that gives you a single data point, a confidence score of 1 to 100. And in less than 5 minutes, you can understand how confident am I in my current state, 1 to 100. And here's the beauty. When you get the results sent to you, there's also another gift here, which is going to be the 12 keys of building and sustaining your confidence. Because here's how I want you to think about it. It's not just about your confidence score for all the VIPs out there that are going to get access to this. It's not just your score. Confidence is not a light switch. It's a dimmer switch. In other words, confidence is not on off. It's not I'm confident or I'm not confident. It's, hey, I'm at an 82. I'm at a 70. I'm at a 48. Cool. That's where you are today. And through all of the resources that we arm you with after the quiz, then you just go up 1% every day. And we give you the how-to and the application and the actions. So the confidence quiz not only gives you the score, it helps you improve that dimmer switch over the days, weeks, and months.
Thank you so much for the generosity of your time and your gift, Paul. If people want to find out more about you and what you do, where do they go?
PaulEpsteinSpeaks.com. Anything and everything, speaking, books, all of it is right there on my website, PaulEpsteinSpeaks.com. And from the heart, man, just really loved our time together and fired up to connect with the entire community.
Thanks again, Paul.
I hope you enjoy that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential, so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.